Now, it's Murph and Mac on KNBR 680 and streaming live at KNBR.com.
All right, the sweet sounds of the music and the highlights can only mean one thing. One of the great Giants fans about to join us. Well, he is a singer and a songwriter, and Rolling Stone picked him one of the 100 greatest singers of all time. He's the former frontman lead singer of San Francisco's own Journey. He is one of the great voices San Francisco's ever produced. And, oh, by the way, massive Giants fan. Steve Perry, welcome to the Murph and Mac Show. Brian Murphy, Paul McCaffrey. It is truly a pleasure to have you on the show. We're big fans of you. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you so much. With an introduction like that, I owe you money, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, just send a check, Steve. It's cool. We'll settle up
anytime. We're all in a damn good mood after last night,
Yeah.
Steve. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Tell us, were you at the Yard last night?
Oh, yeah. Well, the whole time. It was just an amazing game. I couldn't believe it.
Wow, you sound almost as hoarse as my partner.
I have no pipes left after last night. I swear to God. Not only is it early, my voice is gone.
So that's a mark of a good fan right there, Murph, because Steve Perry's coming on the air hoarse. I mean, he did some hollering last night.
I'm telling you.
Well, tell us your strategy when you go to a ball game. Do you got like superstitions? Do you have the same guy you bring every time? And
No, I have the same hat.
Okay.
Same hat all the time. I have the same hat, same backpack, and that's it, man. And sometimes, for instance, I got my tickets yesterday, and I didn't even bother getting the tickets for the Wednesday game because we're not going to need it.
Look at this. I love this. I love the confidence from Steve Perry.
That's
Now,
good.
Steve, how far back does the hat go in the superstition? It's like
The hat goes back probably about since 202, I think. That's when I got into it, in 202. You see, I wasn't really a sports fan. I was a music guy my whole life, and I was going through this huge breakup at the time. And I came up to San Francisco to kind of get away from everything, and a friend of mine took me to Pac-Bell Park. And what a year to get into baseball for the first time for me. I mean, that was something, 202, and I've never left the Giants since.
Oh, that is awesome. Now, you go up for people, most people listening are crazed fans, and when we said you were coming on our show, by the way, we got emails from all over the world,
New
Steve.
Zealand,
Wow.
Australia,
all over the world. People
cool.
are huge fans of you still. But you are a California boy, right?
Yes,
from
born
down-
and raised near
Yeah.
Fresno in a small town of Hanford, California.
Yeah.
That's where I'm from.
But down there, it wasn't baseball for you. And when you guys in Journey were making all your music, it wasn't baseball for you guys. It was just music.
I was never
huh?
into sports, to be perfectly honest. My dad was a singer. I was raised a singer. I was into drums and writing music. And to me, it occupied my every bit of my life. And so what happened was, like I said, in 202, I was going through this big personal change in my life. And when I walked into Pac-Bell Park that night in June and saw that field, and I saw the team walk out there, I just got bit by this amazing bug, and I've been here ever since.
I love it, and it's good to hear Steve Perry, of course, one of the great, as I said, Rolling Stone chose him one of the 100 greatest singers of all time. And so, Steve, I always ask. It's funny, musicians seem to find sort of an artistry or beauty in baseball, particularly. I'd just love to pick your brain on that. What is it like?
That's so good you asked me that question, because I'll tell you what I saw that night. I was pretty frustrated with music in general, because it seems like with Pro Tools, which is, a computer program that everything seems to be recorded by these days, you can make anybody sing in tune, you can make anything feel good, you can almost write music and not know what you're doing. But back in the day, everything you heard from Journey was all recorded, played by the musicians onto tape. It was an analog world.
Yeah.
So I walked into the stadium that night, and I just couldn't believe what I was looking at. And I couldn't figure out why it resonated so hard with me. And a few games later, it hit me. Baseball is like music used to be. You got to be able to play. You got to be able to run, hit, throw that ball. I mean, you got to play. And music used to be that way, and no longer is it that way because of technology. But baseball remains the same. You have to be able to play. I think that's the great attraction for me personally, is to watch these guys go out there and put their cojones on the line, every time.
That is a great explanation. I like that very much, actually.
And I can tell you, Murph, I mean, I went to the Journey shows back in the day. I mean, the Day on the Green, the whole bit, man. Steve Perry's incredible voice. I mean, the roof used to just be flapping when this guy would be on stage. And now last night, right, man, you're back in the Yard, and the only guy with longer, blacker hair than you in the whole stadium is that kid on the hill who is an unbelievable talent like yourself in a different art form. But let's get your impressions on that kid on the hill last night.
I think the pitchers are like lead singers. There's this whole pressure of that right out there all the time. People want you to sing that song. They want you to hit that note. And you need the whole band, like you need the whole team. You can't do it alone. It's impossible for a singer to be worth a damn without an amazing group. And I was blessed to be in one of the best bands in the world, Journey. But I'm telling you, it's a great team we have out there. But the pitcher has got a lot of pressure on him, obviously. And to watch him pitch like he did last night, and then at the very end, we were all sitting there taking bets. Is he coming back out? Is he coming back out? And I just couldn't believe it. It was just a moment where Brian Wilson starts to walk back in the dugout. My friend and I going, no. And when Timmy walked out, it was like an encore.
Yeah, totally. Right.
And then he performed like a closer.
See?
Hey, Steve, can we have you on weekly,
Yeah.
by the way, talking baseball?
You know what
are
it was?
nailing your
Murph,
with your
you know what it was?
observations.
Last
It's
night,
very
Bruce
good.
Bochy played the Bill Graham role and said, get back out there and do one more.
That's right. And by the way, you got to give Bochy some serious, huevos for that, because he let him go out and finish what he started. That was in a game like this, amazing.
That is such a great analogy. It was like an encore, and you're
It
right,
was an
Steve.
encore.
I was down the right field line talking about it with all my. What's great about Steve is another thing I love about baseball is. It's a shared experience with these people you've never met before sitting around you, And so I'm always talking to these guys. Does he come out in the ninth? And we didn't know either. And, obviously Brian Wilson not warming up was a heavy clue. But that trot up the dugout steps and that roar he heard, I'm wondering, does that even give you, a guy who's heard roars from hundreds of thousands of fans?
What's amazing that there was a gap between the moment between Wilson walking into the dugout and nothing happening. You could have drove a truck through that gap, because it was long, and then when he came trotting out, it was totally a flashback to what it used to be like to walk back on stage after a good show.
That is fantastic. Did you get goosebumps up in your seat?
Oh yeah, I would give anything to do those days again. For Christ's sake, that was magic times for me.
Well, hey, man, there was some magic just a couple of days ago for Steve
Yeah.
Perry, because let's get into this. So the other day, I think it was Saturday.
I was at this game, Steve.
Yeah,
I was
you
there,
were there?
man. I was
Yeah.
there. I was
So-
going out of my. It was one of the most organically cool things I've ever seen happen at AT&T.
So Steve Perry's up there. He's watching the game. He's got his Giants hat on. He's sitting with his buddy. And next thing you know, now, probably unbeknownst to you, Steve, suddenly you're on national TV. They had the cameras on you, and you get up, and you get animated, and I don't know, it looked like it was pretty much a spur-of-the-moment thing. You started leading the whole stadium through Don't Stop Believing. How'd that whole thing come about?
What happened was, about the beginning of last season, I told Joe, who works for the Giants, I says, man, I'm going to come into the booth, and I'm going to give you an edited version. I'm going to sit down and edit up Don't Stop Believing. Because of the time constraints, we're going to chop it up a little bit so where you can play it, for a rally song of some time. But as you know, the Dodgers have sort of hijacked it a bit.
Yeah, we
And
can't
they
have
played
that.
it. So when I go to the Giant games down there, I always leave before the eighth inning because I just I
Good
don't wanna hear
man.
it.
Good man, Steve.
But so Joe comes up and taps me on the shoulder, and I must say, Joe has always been just so wonderful. They've never put me on the jumbotron. I don't go there to do that. I go there for the love of the game, because this game has rescued me from some times in my life that we'll get into sometime another time. But this game has lifted me up, and so I go for the reverence of the game, and so they've never, dare I say the word, used me, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they've been so respectful of that. So Joe taps me on the shoulder about the seventh inning, and he says, listen, it's Saturday, and boy, we need this game, and if this place is a morgue, we need a rally song now. If there's ever a time, Joe says, that we need Don't Stop Believing, it's now, and would you consider us putting you on the big screen and try to get this crowd going? And I looked at him, I said, if that's what you want to do, Joe, now's the time to do it. And so the next thing I know, I leaned over to my friend and said, looks like they're going to put me on. He said, what? So then the song started, and they didn't start it loud enough for me.
Right.
So I stood up and said, oh, my God, I love this song. Turn that crap up. I said the S word, And so I just kept saying, turn it up. Come on, people. And these people turn around and sing, who is this big-nosed guy with a hat on?
Nice.
They're screaming,
Yeah.
And that's how it started.